Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are going to dive into the world of the dark web. I will be exploring the business on this shadow underground market, and we'll take a close look at the current place on the shadow marketplaces and break down the forces that drive its dynamics. But first, let me say a couple words about me. I'm a senior digital footprint intelligence analyst at Kaspersky. I've been working in cybersecurity industry for over 8 years, and the last half of the time I've been deep into open source intelligence and spent countless hours researching and exploring the dark web. So there's dozens of resources on dark web, from public, private forums to onion resources, some private messages, and there is a constant stream of products being advertised for sale. For example, different compromised accounts, from public leakages, from malware logs of info-stealers, to some compromised infrastructure accesses, and of course there are exploits. And you probably heard of news of security researchers that new 0 days was hit the scene on the dark web. So I wonder how many real exploits are actually circulating on the dark web, and more importantly, does the sale of exploit economy follow the sale rules as selling of another illicit and illegal products of the dark web? Curiosity got the best of me, so I did some research and ready to share results for you. To answer the first question, let's dive into the numbers and uncover what's really out there. Since January 23, I've uncovered a total of 550 exploit-related advertisements. That's about 26 advertisements posted per month. But here's a important detail. These numbers are not necessarily unique, because sometimes users posted the same advertisement, the same exploit for sale on different forums and uses different nicknames. So it's quite challenging to really differentiate these posts and provide accurate numbers. So we must keep in mind when looking at the bigger picture. About half of these posts are related to advertising 0 days and 1 days. 0 days, the month for 0 days is pretty high, so it totally makes sense. Cybercriminals want to use exploits which are brandly, fresh, new, so they maximize their persistence, and they want to take advantage of buying exploit for more long time. But how much they want to invest in buying exploits? After analyzing various offers, it is clear that there is no going rate for exploits, but there are several logical factors which influence how prices are formed. Among them, there is type of exploit, there is criticality and prevalence of the system, there is number of sales, uniqueness of the offer, and of course, reputation of the seller. Let's start by discussing the type of exploit. It is no surprise that local privilege escalation exploits are almost half price of remote code execution. On average, LP exploit costs around $60,000, while RC exploit can cost as much as $100,000. And there is no doubt that 0 days came in much more higher price. Let's consider here LP exploits. And when we look in local privilege escalation exploit, the cost of 0 days typically ranges from $60,000 to $50,000, sorry. There is a typical example of such offer you can see on the slide. The seller offers 1 day Windows LPE and wants for this exploit $60,000. If we talk about 1 day's exploit, they, in contrast, generally cost much lower price. starting anywhere from budget-friendly $500 to $10,000. Now, when we shift our focus for remote code execution, the prices differences are even more dramatic. And logically, the more popular software, the more price for them. For example, the popular products of Microsoft, such as Microsoft Office and Microsoft Outlook, were starting from $100,000. And we can see that the average price for RCE for Outlook is about $200,000. But also, we see some offer were skyrocketing this offer. And this post was about selling RCE exploit for almost $2 million. Interestingly, that this post is no longer available on the forum. This can mean that the seller was successfully had a successful deal and earned $2 million. But even that amount isn't the limit to what can be earned. The most expensive offering I came across was a vulnerability in Magento, and this price exceeds $6 million when converted from Bitcoin. And this is really showcases how the owner of exploit, how the author of a post can say the price whatever they want, and pricing is as flexible as seller's strategy. And also, sellers has the flexibility to choose how they want to sell exploit. For example, how many copies. The most common way to sell exploit, just one hand to one buyer, because it's logical when you buy exploit for such sum of money, you want to be the sole user, the sole owner of this exploit. However, in several times we can see offers which sell exploit in several times for several buyers. For example, this second example is selling exploit to 5 users, and the price was set to $20,000, meaning that the owner wants to earn $100,000, like the average price for RCE. And in that case, in this case, get the rewards they want. And if we talk about price, which is $100,000, who is ready to buy it? Who has so much money? If we consider that the buyer wants to recoup the cost while they work, we can logically outline the following types of buyers. It can be advanced persistent threats, it can be ransomware groups, maybe some experienced solo hackers, and of course, some hacktivists. And generally, these groups have financial motives and financial means to invest in such high-ticket items. For example, here's on the slide, you can see example of user of potential buyer who wants to purchase a working exploit of any popular software, and in this post, he claims that the budget is really good. And here's another example of a customer who eager to obtain working exploit. This user specifically looking for 1-day or 0-day exploit for Cisco or Fortinet, and as they state, they have a good budget to work with. Interesting that the same user posted another message, another post, where they claims that the user is part of experienced pen testers team with over 4 years of experience, and they search incorporate accesses like VPNs, and they mentioned they have their own instruments, they have their own exploits, probably purchased just before, because the difference between these two posts is about 1 month, and there are some probability As we see, this user can be a part of some ransomware group because he is looking for accesses. But at the same time, this user can be just scammers because we can see also the date of registered, and this user is newly registered and has been active only on the short time. Now let's shift our focus on the sellers. Statistics reveal that more than half of all offers comes from users which offer only one exploit. And in contrast, a very small fraction, 7%, is a constant seller or persistent seller. Those users who have more than 5 offers in their posts. So let's take a closer look at one of these notable persistent sellers. So in 2024, one user listed 5 exploits for sale, and if he has successfully sold all of them, we can say that he could have made almost $500,000. Of course, if we talk about cyber criminals, about their standards, it is not the high amount value, it is not like the ceiling for them, because if they would exploit this vulnerability, of course, they could potentially earn much more. And let's look at another fascinating example of a seller. It's malware, and malware is actually sophisticated malware, and also the malware promoted their ransomware as a service affiliate program, and they actively advertise it on darknet forums, seeking for new partners. And we estimate that for now, their partners is about 20 partners involved in this RAS program. And in the interview the threat actor gave to suspect file, they say that the number of victims is 1,000. So it means that they have like enough money. And their usual initial access is penetrating internet-facing MS SQL and PostgreSQL service. And interestingly, that malware has been trying to sell a Microsoft Office exploit for some time. And as you can see, this advertisement that we sell exploit, this is the price of $100,000, and all discussion is in private messages. And note that malware was unsuccessful and eventually decided to offer a discount for potential buyer to entice them. And they explained that waited a month for buyer, and the buyer was disappeared, and now we are ready to provide some discount. However, we can say more about this situation. There is no guarantee that malware and ransomware did not use this exploit for themselves, and no one wants to buy a dirty exploit, some exploit which exploited before. And this could certainly deter potential buyer from making a purchase. Here's another nice example. Remember the most expensive exploit for Magenta, which costs 100 BTC, and the seller was spotted in another discussion with another seller. So this seller of exploit was a buyer of some shop spec, and the seller of shop spec was accused Magenta owner on non-payment. And during this discussion, the seller argued how he couldn't have enough money to pay him because he was selling the most expensive exploit. And the user shot back, answered that this exploit was not him, and he was just middleman and provide these exploits in belongings of his partner. So we can see how complex and dynamic is saying of exploits. And such situations raise a lot of confusion among dark web participants and bring them to the question, one of the most pressing one, from the community, how can buyers safely navigate this market without getting scammed? The question of the slide was about the marketplace called 0 Day Today, and the answer is you can trust it. The thing is that 0 Day Today is just a scam project, reportedly earned more than $6 million. In fact, I think it still exists, but forums participants know that it is just a scam project, and they even conducted an investigation and provided a tally of their Bitcoin accounts. So, to protect themselves from scammers, there are some essential rules. Let's call it best practices for cybercriminals. While these are, I think, typical for all kinds of deals in dark web, we can see some unique features for selling exploits. First one is deposit system. So to protect themselves from basic scam on forums, a deposit system was involved and introduced. So before you make any deal, you need to transfer money for the forum. So it's your deposit. And in most cases, it helps both parties to understand, is it worth to make a deal? Both parties can understand each other's credibility. And for seller, for example, it demonstrates that the buyer has money, and you can go in private messages and discuss the deals. You can provide demo videos and just discuss the deals. But when it comes to exploits, some of exploits, their price is much higher than usually deposit system. So when we're talking about deals with exploit, participants are typically advised to transfer you around 5 B2C, which is actually around $300,000 right now, and this is kind of price of exploit. So it means that this deposit can act as a safety net if somebody will scam. Next one effective tool is, of course, escrow services. So every deal is come with escrow service or guarantee service. This involves a trusted middleman in the deal. For example, the buyer sends the money to the guarantor, the seller provides exploit to the buyer, and when the buyer confirms the deal, the guarantor releases the funds to the seller and takes around 10% commission for this. And if something goes wrong after the deal is completed, when the money is transferred, there is only one resource to get your money back. It is called the police, and dark web has its own law enforcement, calling the arbitrage system. And this is very interesting because, of course, every deal comes behind closed doors in private messages, and we can't see much information about it. But in case of scam, in case of this arbitration system, all private messages come to publicity because you need to provide some proofs, and we can look about how the deal is completed and what's going wrong. And if we talk about dispute between buyer and seller, when dispute is from buyer, it's like usual thing, but this is very interesting example. It's a dispute from the seller after a successful deal. Exactly, where buyer purchased the exploit and pushed the seller to help him with usage of this exploit. But the buyer states that they were doing it on some testing server, but in reality, they were penetrating some real server. And the seller said that he's just seller of exploit. He just wants to develop exploit, but not want to penetrate networks because he's not a hacker and he don't want to do some illegal things. So the first conclusion we can draw is deals involved in exploit is risky for both sides. Of course, every transaction in dark web is risky. It's a common thing, but if we talk about significant sums of money involved in selling of exploit, buyers can lose all their investment, and they have pushed to seek another legitimate job to make some money. Secondly, usually there is no possibility to test the exploit before the purchase. Of course, there are sometimes some demo videos. It's like also best practice, but in sometimes they are not available. And this brings us to the high possibility of scam, which is buyers or usually buyers becomes and fallen victims of a scam. And every offer that's circulated in the dark web is like big elephant in the room. Everybody see it, security researchers see it, and we start to tweeting it. And this level of attention is not desirable, not for buyer, not for seller. And lastly, the demand for buyers far exceeds from the offers, because exploits are like, this is quote, it is strategic raw material, and every successful transaction between buyer and seller make more trusting relationship between them, and this leads to private deals without any publicity, and they do it in private messages. And while we can still see this offer, it is crucial for vendors and companies to look at dark web, make it another source of intelligence to monitor and being notified about any threats, any vulnerabilities in the products. And this can provide us more valuable insights about potential threats. So that's all for me today. Thank you for your attention, and I am ready to answer questions if you have one.